Most marketers think that SEO stops at Google, but in this new world of AI search, the rules are being completely rewritten. And if you're not showing up in ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google's Gemini, then you are essentially invisible. In this video, I'll walk you through the step-by-step process and the prompts with how you can take one blog post and repurpose into 3 AI optimized content formats. So the goal is no longer are you trying to rank high in the search engine results page, but you're just trying to be the answer to a question that somebody searches in a large language model. So here's some interesting data from Ahrefs that they did in April, showing that AI overviews actually reduce clicks by 34.5%. So if there's a search query where the AI overview appears, the likelihood of getting an organic click to a website drops by 34.5%. Also interesting to note here is that lots of these, a majority, 99.2%, are informational in intent. So that is high level where somebody's trying to learn something like what, how, when, so informational type keywords. Now let's actually look at an example here. If we're saying, how do you use AI in digital marketing? So somebody might go to ChatGPT or Google to find this. And let's use AI mode. And AI mode is Google's new deep research feature where Google takes one search query, so whatever somebody types in, and actually uses a fan out technique. So that one question actually becomes many different questions to actually answer this question on how to use AI in digital marketing. So you can see here that there are the many sources that are used, and here's the answer. And of course, the benefit of AI mode is that you can ask specific questions here. So I could ask anything related to this or anything else. So if I want to learn more about what tools, for example, are best for data analysis, then I can ask that. It would create a new query, do more research, and give me the answer. Now, let's say, for example, that I am HubSpot and I have this post, 8 ways to use AI in digital marketing. Now, ideally, a post like this would get cited in the search query that I just asked. How do I use AI in digital marketing? I don't believe that it did, but one way that we can increase the likelihood of getting cited is by using different ways. So we know certain things about how these large language models work, and we can create content specifically for that. So let's get into the details of how you'd actually do that. If we're HubSpot and we want to optimize that blog post to be cited by large language models, let's walk through the process of how we would do that. So the first step is that we're going to figure out what people would be searching for that would trigger a large language model to cite that particular article. So we want to understand the article at a deeper level and then repurpose it or think through the lens of a large language model and then reformat it to be cited by the large language model. Large language models often structure responses around direct user questions. So like I said, when we were looking at the AI mode, that one question of how to use AI in digital marketing actually consists of many, many different questions that are related. So we want to figure out what that question might be. And there are different ways that you could do that. So we essentially are going to take that blog post and figure out what the core question, the core search query that somebody might ask in order to cite that post. So here's the prompt. I'll show you the actual AI output. So here is the prompt that I use in ChatGPT to get to understand what that core search query is. So I'm giving it a role. So you are a search optimization expert. Your task is to identify the primary search query that the ICP, the ideal customer profile, would be searching for. So in HubSpot's case, it would be a CMO or a VP of marketing in order to identify that given blog post. So once you digest the blog post and analyze it, the tasks are as follows. Analyze the blog post, identify the main topic, key points, the value proposition in the blog post. Then in the perspective of the ideal customer profile, the CMO or VP of marketing, formulate what the core problem is that needs to be addressed, the relevant keywords or phrases, and then rewrite it in the language of the ideal customer profile. So phrase in the C-level executive would use when searching. So ultimately, we're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of our end user and figure out what that search query is. So I actually just literally pasted in the blog post from HubSpot. So it is this blog post that I literally just copied the text, pasted it in, and then the output looks like it got some of the CSS and the code along with the page. The output, which is basically the search query that somebody would be searching for, is what are the best ways to use AI in digital marketing in 2025? And why did ChatGPT give this as a core search query? It gives reasons, so you get a better idea of the psychographics, the thought process of the ideal customer profile. So high ROI and efficiency gains in AI marketing are the key themes. Tactical breakdown, use cases and content creation, the tools mentioned, and then the phrase best ways to use AI is the natural language of a CMO or VP of search. So what might be interesting is let's actually see if we type that into Google. Let's go to AI mode to ask that, and let's see, does that actually bring up the HubSpot article? And it looks like it does not. So let's see what we can do in order to get the large language model to cite that. So now that we have the core query, let's get a definition of what the query would be. The reason why that we want the definition is because that is actually most cited by the large language model. So remember the Hrefs data, 99% of AI overviews are informational, top of funnel questions, learning about educational stuff. And so that's why we want to have a LLM citable definition, because it increases the likelihood of us getting cited by a large language model. And in doing so, in creating that definition, we are going to create something that's short, declarative, sourceable definition, and we're going to write it in paragraph form. And so we could use this as a post, something as specific as what is the topic, or a glossary. Programmatic SEO, where there are glossary definitions, are getting a lot of traffic. And then it could also be repurposed on social, like a LinkedIn post, for example. So if we just take that prompt, I'll show you the prompt in ChatGPT. And so we're starting with a task. You are tasked with creating a concise, informative definition for a given topic, optimized for the large language models, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. And here's a goal. The goal is to create a single paragraph, 75 to 100 words, so we're giving it guidelines and parameters, that provides a clear and useful explanation of the topic. So the topic is, what are the best ways to use in AI in digital marketing in 2025? Now this was just literally copied and pasted from the answer here. So we're finding what the core query is, and then we just pasted it in. And then what we're looking for in the definition, the output must include a clear and specific definition in the first sentence. So get the value up front, an explanation of who the topic is relevant for and why it matters. So we're trying to understand and incorporate the mentality of our end user, and then a real world use case or application. So we literally just pasted that in, and then here's a definition. The best way to use AI in digital marketing in 2025 involve applying machine learning and generative AI tools. It mentions some of the tools, and it gives a word count. So how would we use this? Again, we might want to use it as its own blog post. So we would just do a blog post around what is the best way to use AI in digital marketing in 2025, and then we have the answer there. We could create a topic, a glossary entry, which may not be so relevant in this case, and this could just be also a LinkedIn post. Maybe we want to repurpose the language. Now, the second way, I should say, to repurpose this long form content is to actually break it down in a more tactical step-by-step guide. And the reason why you want to do that, again, keep in mind that large language models are citing top of funnel informational queries, is that we want structure and step-based formats work. So how do I, or the best ways, these are informational search queries. Numbered guides make it easy for a large language model to understand and then repurpose in the answer. And it can be repurposed as a blog post, as a carousel on social, or a PDF playbook, or it could just be a video. You've seen many LinkedIn videos on how to use, or YouTube videos how to use AI in digital marketing in 2025, the 5 best ways or something like that. Now let's see what AI's, what the prompt and the response is. So again, same format, giving it a task to transform the blog post into a tactical guide. So 5 steps, and then the ICP is a B2B SaaS company. And then the goal is to understand the blog post, then break it down into steps. And each step should be very clear in the value it's delivering. So the structure would be a short action-oriented headline, the explanation of the purpose of the step, then who is evaluating it. So this is the end user, the VP of marketing, and we're optimizing for. We're giving it the parameters, make it clear and concise, make each step distinct and actionable, make it very specific. So all of these are ultimately what large language models value in what gets cited. So we want a 5-step guide, ultimately, each step under 100 words. This prompt can totally be customized, changed, but at a high level, we are going to see, we're going to take the post again. It's got the too much code, so it's not a great example, but large language models can digest and parse through it. And then we have our 5 steps on how to implement AI in marketing in B2B SaaS. So this is a bit of an odd example because this post is actually 8 ways, and we just basically broke it down into 5 ways. So how do you implement AI in marketing in B2B SaaS? Here are the 5 ways, and these are following the protocol that we asked for in our prompt. So we have 5 ways. So again, you could take this into a carousel. You can make a video around it where you extrapolate on these 5 things, and it can ultimately be repurposed into something. The goal being, though, that we are going to get this cited by a large language model. Now let's go into the last way that you can repurpose a long form post to get cited by a large language models, and that's to create a pros and cons list. So the reason why this works is addressing different types of queries, top of funnel informational queries. So for example, like, should you use AI in content? When somebody's asking for the expertise or the opinion of a large language model, this is a type of post that could get answered if you're balancing the pros and cons and thinking through holistically how things work when addressing the topic. In this case, how to implement AI in digital marketing. And this can be repurposed into a table where you'd have the pros and cons of using AI in digital marketing. It could be a LinkedIn post or carousel, and it could just be an opt-in. Now let's just see what the output is from AI. So the post is that we're asking for 3 pros and 3 cons, and here's a topic. Again, taking it from the very first post of the core search query. And here's what we're looking for in the output: a short headline, a sentence to explain the impact and include the relevant trade-offs, some parameters for the output that we want it balanced and detailed, in-depth, the pros and cons. And here's the output. Let's see. The pros, scale content, improve personalization and free up time. The cons are training, tool sprawl, and risk of quality. So let's recap what we've done and why it matters. So in this AI search world that we're trying to figure out, we are going to see a drop in organic clicks because you can get an answer immediately from the AI overviews or AI mode or Perplexity ChatGPT. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're trying to figure out how we can get our content cited by these large language models. And that's why it's important that you're repurposing your content in different ways that large language models actually use. So the steps that we took are: 1, to extract the core query. So we take the blog post, then we're saying, okay, based on the type of person who's reading this and what the content of this blog post is, what would somebody actually be searching for in order to see that this post gets cited? Then we want to distill that blog post into one LLM citable definition. And the reason being is that large language models want to have very clear, concise value upfront posts. And because there are so many informational top of funnel queries that trigger the AI overviews, almost 100% of them, this is more important in order to get cited by the large language models. Then we're going to break down the blog post into step-by-step tactical guides that will again increase the likelihood and can of course be repurposed into carousels, videos, PDFs. And lastly is the third way to create a piece of content repurpose for the focus on optimizing for AI citations is to generate a pros and cons list. And that is where you're going to take the blog post and take a balanced approach, pros and cons of doing the topic. So this is, as you can see, more than just content repurposing, but it's reframing with a specific intent of getting cited by the LLMs. And if your content doesn't match how the LLMs are thinking, you're missing a huge opportunity in visibility. If you want to see my approach and process to creating great content with AI, click the link here to watch the video. And if you want help to create a strategy and execution on AI citable content, make sure to click the link below and we can connect. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.